There's an FT8 Digital Mode Club. I'm a member. I haven't done much with it, and it's very difficult to upload your calls to them because the software they supply, while it may not be buggy, all my security services say don't load it. Okay, so we've gone through that. We got started. There's your FT8 screen. I have new stuff, so I'm just going through the old stuff a bit quicker now. Your exchange, depending how lucky you are, you send your CQ. They reply with your signal report. You reply with your signal report. They send you a 73 or an RRR, report received, and you reply with a 73. So that can take, that's like 6 exchanges. That's 90 seconds. If you do it, these are the frequencies. They're all available. I'm generally working between 10 and 40. I don't have an 80-meter antenna. I work a lot of DX in the evening on 30 meters. At least that was in the winter. Things seem to change a lot in the summer. It's getting really crowded on the spectral display. Each of those lines is somebody talking. And lately, I have the hardest time getting up, finding a spot, say, on 20 meters at 8 o'clock in the evening. So I start going from FT8 to FT4, hoping there's people there. And yeah, there's people there. So now to set it up, you've got to have it, you can connect it a number of ways. If you have a modern receiver with a USB connection, that's the best way. If you have an older piece of gear, you can use a rig blaster or something like that. With Yaesu equipment, you have to download a special driver for USB from Silicon Labs. You probably have to do it both for Apple and also Yaesu and ICOM both require you to load the Silicon Labs driver. You will look for your driver, and the thing what I found is the driver will not show up in your settings, in your device settings, device manager, unless it's connected to your radio and the radio is turned on. Otherwise, it's a sort of a transparent driver. And that threw me off a lot trying to do an installation because I couldn't find the driver. So we kept downloading the driver, but you had to turn on the radio to find it. This WSJT X software supports a lot of modes, including Whisper. To install the radio, there's a settings tab in either the WSJT-X software or the WSJT-Z software, or any of the other variants still require you to go through these settings. Now, the one thing you got to do is when you get your radio to work is take screenshots of your settings, or you'll all be lost. So there's the tricky one is the radio tab. In the case of the FT991A, as you see, it's pretty much all these default settings, but you have to know what you have to make sure your baud rate, you've got the correct baud rate, that you've got a comparable COM port number that works. You may have to experiment a bit to find what settings work, unless it's somehow you get lucky. The other important tab is the audio tab, and you have to make sure that the settings in the audio tab and in your, which want to get to your USB codec, generally match the audio settings of your computer. Okay. then there's the tabs you can set your messages. There's settings for it lets you set up different port numbers for logging. There's the setting. You can pick the colors for finding new stations or old stations. So the important thing is that you've got to have, again, this is the page from your computer, and you've got to make sure that things line up between the audio tab on WSJT X and your computer, and a lot of people just looking at all the at the Facebook page for FT8. A lot of people just don't get it. All right, so this is there's a program called PSK Reporter, and it shows you where your signal was received. There's a lot of stations monitoring, including myself. The other thing you can do with PSK Reporter is actually put up the call sign of one of your friends, and see who they've contacted. It'll let you spy on other hams and see how well they're doing. So this is some propagation from another year. 17 meters at 130, and I'm popping across the pond here. Sometimes you got to have patience if it's a station you want to work, and contact them several times, because other people may be trying, but after about 4 tries, unless it's a really rare station, save your power. But some people go on for hours trying to reach some Pacific island. I mean, that without question, it's probably worthwhile. So I do my logging on QRZ.com, and I have more to talk about that when in my new slides. So QRZ will, let you also interact with Logbook of the World and automatically upload what you've entered in a QRZ up to Logbook of the World. Now, here's my little antenna. It's pretty stealthy. Right now, I've got it lower down, the body of the antenna below the railing, and I've got it covered with fake green plastic vines from Amazon. Now, here's part 2 that I just put together for you this week. So FT8 versus FT4. On the left is some FT8. It takes 15 seconds to make send one message. That's in FT4. It only takes 7.5 seconds, of which there's a second buffer on either end. So it's really 5.5 seconds of transmission versus 13 seconds of actual transmission. I've found that if you have a strong signal environment, even a fraction of that time period often will get a response. So if you come in late in the time period, you may very well get a response. And sometimes you don't want to send that message because you've already worked that station on that band and on that mode, and you hit stop transmission. Well, you sent enough that if it's a hot signal, they got you, and you'll finish your queue. So another important thing to do is make sure you have time sync. Now, in this slide, I purposefully offset the clock by 5 seconds. And I'll show you how to set up the clock. Okay, we missed one there. Here's how you set up the clock. I'm using a program, BKT Time Sync by IZ2BKT. And I've been using this for 2 years, and it works quite well. You have to find a local server. I mean, you can try to use, the National Radio Observatory or something. I found one that a local clock in New York that's working just fine. But again, if you don't use a time clock, and this can happen out in the field, you've got a portable unit, and you're not, and your time on your radio is on your computer is a second or two off. You'll be sending out your signal, but you won't be able to decode it because the decoding is synchronized with exactly with these lines. So the biggest, if you see a signal like this when you're receiving, you're not, unless you want to shift your own clock to match it for some reason. Now, if one way you can cheat in the field, you're starting to transmit, you see these, what you're receiving, and you see that they're out of sync. Well, there's an offset box here, and you can manually plus or minus, a second, a half a second, a tenth of a second, and get your broadcast, your station temporarily in sync without having to rely on a network. So there is a fudge here that you can will save you out in the field. Now, I use a secondary program called Grid Tracker, gridtracker.com, I guess. And there's a lot to it. It had a few little, you have to follow the installation instructions. There's a couple of little things that are in the instructions that are important to do, and you just got to follow them. But once you have it working, and first it will let you, if you should start it up, after you've got you can start it up before or after you've started WSJTX or Z. If you enter your passwords for the various logging sites that you're using, like QRZ, Logbook of the World, EQSL, what else am I using? EQSL and Ham Radio Deluxe. Well, Ham Radio Deluxe, PSK Reporter. It will coordinate. So I believe it does Club Log too. Though I think right now I have Club Log. I gave it access to go to Logbook of the World and automatically update itself. So there's all these various logs, which for I don't know why different people, especially I guess in Europe, they like Club Log. If you don't like QRZ, you might like Club Log, EQSL. I don't know. It's kind of annoying to get these little e-cards, but it's up personal privilege. Now here's the log coming from Ham Radio Deluxe. Okay. The WSG, there's an option. Well, I'm using a Flex radio. The Flex radio is connected to my computer via the network. It has an exceptionally complex interface, and I don't even want to understand it. But they work, they play. I can talk to my Flex radio with my iPhone if I really want to, from anywhere. Okay, now with Ham Radio Deluxe logging program, I'm able to print a label to put on my QSL card. And I'm using a little Seiko thermal printer. The other thing you can do in QRZ.com, it prints out an address label. So doing that, I was able to print out the contact label, and I got to play with the margin to get it properly. I was able to print out the address label by setting the margins to like 0 on the thermal paper. You also have to tell when you set up the printer, you'll experiment a bit to find the orientation that you should be printing in, horizontal or vertical, because you can get some really weird printing and waste a lot of paper if you don't watch it. But I mean, this is like $100 on Amazon. Very, very good printer. And that is my presentation for the evening. So I thank you for your patience and the foul ups and so on. But I'm ready for questions. You can I'll unmute you if I have to, or you can unmute yourselves. You can all unmute yourselves if you can. So I will stop the sharing. Okay.
Thank you. That was a nice overview.
All right. Any questions?
No, that sounds good. Thank you very much. We have to try that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. As I say, with the WSJTZ version of the program, you can virtually set it and forget it. I've done that. I start the program. I find myself a slot to transmit in, and I'm watching TV or reading a book, and I keep my eye on the screen. And if you got a good day, you could. On a good day for me, a really good day for me, I can do like 60 QSOs. That's a really good day. Average between 15 and 30 a day. I'm not spending all my time doing this, but I find it amusing. It's I'm retired. I like technical hobby. I love. I'm having fun with ham radio and all these little pieces of wire and stuff on my desk here. I mean, my next project is to install the auto tuner board into the Flex radio. So I have this assembly here to put in the radio. And so the radio has a TORX T8 screws in it. And the online instructions say use the supplied Torx screwdriver. Well, so I'm looking for the screwdriver. No screw. So I send Flex an email, and they got back right away. They said, "Oh, we didn't update the instructions. We stopped supplying those parts years ago." So I, bought a little kit of this stuff on eBay for $6. So that's another thing to keep me busy. Besides,
Well, this sounds like a winter project.
yeah, well, yeah, it's all fun, So, anything else we want to discuss at the meeting? Questions on FT8 or? Well, shall we adjourn? All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.